Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. In this video, you will learn the stacking and assembly of a graduation cake. I will also give you a couple of cake decorating tips along the way. You will learn how to shape and mask a 3D cake, achieve a realistic leather finish, and assemble fondant letters with ease. I will also show you ways to keep your book cover straight around the ends. I use tappets for my letters. The biggest tip I can give you is to do this ahead of time. When the letters are dry, it is easier to handle. My Hot Wheels tutorial, if you haven't checked it out, shows you exactly how to use tappets. Another important tip is to roll out your fondant really thin. I used a pasta machine for this. Let the strip dry out slightly before you can cut it into smaller pieces. Then you can use your tappets to cut out the letters. An acupuncture needle or a pin will be handy to ease out the letters from the mold. I use a range of scrapers to mask the cake. Each one has a different purpose, as you will see. Using a piping bag to ice your cake makes it easier to avoid any air bubbles in the process. You first trim your cake to make the top even. The top of the cake always becomes the bottom while you stack. For this cake, I use 2 guide boards. The guide boards are cut into an 8 by 6 inch rectangle. This is the size I require for my cake. I then went ahead and measured the height of the cake. I cut the cake into 2 layers. I also left about an inch of extra cake on one side of the book. As you notice that the cake is slightly bigger than the board on one end. This is to shape the cake into a curved edge to form the rib of the book. I then trim out about ½ an inch of cake around the cake board. This will help me get an even layer of icing later on. Stack and fill your layers as you like. A piece of acetate or a flexi scraper is very handy for curved edges. Always level your cake at this stage and check if it is straight from all sides. I use a special detailing scraper to fill up any gaps and for that smooth finish. You will have to go back and forth with this till you are happy. I used 4 dowels for this cake and 1 center dowel attached to the cake board. This cake was traveling all the way to Melbourne from Adelaide. I know, exciting, but safety first. Once you are happy with the shape of the cake, you can cover it with cling wrap and then pop it in the fridge overnight. The cling wrap stops the excess condensation on the cake once taken out. But if you forget to do this, it's alright, it's not the end of the world. Another use of cling wrap for 3D cakes is the next day, once the cake is cold, you can push on it and smooth or shape the cake. It allows for an easy glide, which makes it easier to shape your cake. It also leaves your hands clean, so win-win situation here. If only this kneading and coloring process took only a minute. Let's say multiply 1 minute of time lapse into 20, and there you have it. 20 minutes of kneading? Yikes! For the pages, I rolled out white fondant fairly thin, and I used 2 kinds of impression markers to create the page marks. Measure the height and length of the sides of the cake and cut out a long strip. Always cut a little extra. You have to work a little fast here. Also leave the cling on till you are ready. This helps the condensation form on the cling and not on the surface of the cake. Thus, your fondant is less likely to sweat. If it does sweat a little, that is normal, as the cake is still cold. Lightly dust it with corn flour and continue to work on it. If it is still wet, put your aircon on the dry setting to take out any excess moisture from the room, especially if it is a humid day. Roll out the brown fondant for the cover slightly thicker. Measure the cake and cut accordingly. I flipped the cake to keep the ends from flopping. This makes it easier to cut without it stretching. Another way to achieve the same is to measure and cut out exactly the amount of fondant you need before putting it onto the cake. This may take time, practice to get it right, as the fondant stretches and loses its shape. Use skewers or a ruler to cut out the edges of the book. Take your time with this to get clean, straight lines. I cut out 2 pieces of acetate in the shape of an L to support the book corners before I flip it back into place. When you are ready, you can flip the cake back onto your presentation cake board. Now you can work on it, smoothing out any air bubbles. I also put 1 long piece down the center to keep the center part straight. I then cut another long strip of the same color to complete the bottom cover of the book. Now for the most important and exciting part of this tutorial, the leather finish on the book. I first dusted the book with cocoa powder. It gives you a matte look. It looks really nice like this too. If you want a lighter book, you can go over it with some more cocoa powder, especially in the grooves, to highlight any details on the rib of the book. This creates a shadow effect too. I also put some on the pages, making it look like an old textbook. Now take a clean tissue and smudge brown food color over the cover. Do not use a paintbrush. You will get a different effect. The tissue takes off any excess color and lets you achieve a matte look instead of a gloss finish. You are also able to control your strokes and darken the details. You can also use a piece of brown fondant to smudge on the color. But for this design, I really liked using the tissue. The tissue soaks up any excess color. Hence, you can do a few lighter strokes where needed, and you can also go darker where needed. I then went over it with a matte black food color to add another dimension to the details, to darken them further. Now look at it. The leather finish is really starting to show. Remember to clean your white cake board with a damp cloth right away. The color can definitely stain it if left on for too long. Use a ruler or something that can help you to line up the letters straight. When the letters are dry, it is easier to handle. I use piping gel to stick them on, as water will not work on stiff letters. I also painted my letters gold the day before. It needs enough time to dry. Do this ahead of time to save your time, trust me. If you try to do this on the same day or paint your letters after they are stuck onto the cake, before you know it, your whole book will be covered in glitter. I'm sure you have worked with gold dust and gold paint before. It's a nightmare. You go to clean up one thing and it's all over the place. And there you have it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Share this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Till the next one, later skaters!